This Chat with the Experts is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. I'm Kyle Hawk, and I'm here today with Greg Mrakich of Greg Mrakich Painting here in Indianapolis. And we're talking all about paint today, both inside and outside your home. And we were just discussing the early considerations when it comes to choosing a paint for your home. But I want to talk for a moment, Greg, about the actual surface you're going to be painting. Are there any surfaces in the home that you would advise somebody to not paint over?
If you're willing to take the time to do the prep work, you can pretty much paint everything up to and including ceramic tile.
Wow.
But I mean, you have to etch it with muriatic acid and then use a special oil-based epoxy primer. And if you're willing to do all that, then sure, you can paint anything.
Well, I know one popular item that people are starting to paint over now that's kind of coming into style is painting over cabinets. What are some tips or guidelines you would give somebody for doing a project like that?
Yeah, painting stained cabinets is all the rage. It's kind of a nice in-between between getting a full kitchen remodel and kind of living with what you have.
Right.
So stained cabinets, what you need to do is you need to clean them really well. Use like a scrubber sponge and something like 409 or something to get all the grease and kitchen gunk off. And then sand everything down, then rinse it down again to get all the dust off. Then you prime it. Then you caulk all the gaps and fill all the nail holes, which will now become glaringly obvious on a previously stained finish. Once that is done, you apply 2 finish coats, and there you go.
Now, this is a job, obviously, that's going to require some steps. It's one thing to look at something on Pinterest and see a cool design you like and take it on yourself. Is this a project that you're seeing a lot of homeowners have been able to tackle on their own, or is it best to hire somebody to do that?
I can recall off the top of my head about 4 jobs that I've done in the last 2 years where the homeowner started and then called me. Okay. So it's time-consuming. If I'm doing a kitchen, an average kitchen will take about 2 weeks of going every day and staying there for 8 hours and doing it. It's just a lot of prep work to make sure that the paint sticks and it's a durable finish. In a kitchen, there's a lot of humidity, and it's a brutal place for a painted surface. So you want to make sure you degloss the finish you're painting over so the paint has good adhesion.
Well, at the end of the last segment, we talked about some of the things you should consider when you're choosing your paint. And one thing we didn't discuss was color, which is obviously a big part of it. Are there things involved in the equation when you're choosing a color for your home? Because I know a lot of people are starting to do accent walls. What are some things you should think about?
Well, when choosing a color, let's assume that you have a couch you like or a carpet you like, area rug. You can pick a color that's in the carpet, or pull a carpet color, area rug color, sofa color, pillow color, something that ties into the room. If the room has a yellow oak floor, you want to be careful if you're going with an off-white, because when the sunlight hits the floor, it will throw off a yellow cast. Mm-hmm. So it's going to affect what the wall looks like. Same if you have like a red oak floor, it'll throw off a violet cast. So if you have white walls, they're suddenly going to look violet in color.
Yeah. So, good things to think about. So once you've chosen the paint, you've chosen the color, you know what you're going to do, what sort of prep work needs to be done before you start putting the brush to the wall?
Well, you want to make sure the walls are repaired. You look for settling cracks. You fill in the nail holes. If you're going to hang your pictures up in exactly the same place that you have them now, you can actually just leave the hooks or the nails in the wall and just paint over them. But you want to caulk where there might be gaps in the trim, and just make the walls as perfect as you can before you paint, because any imperfections are going to show up through the new paint. So it doesn't make sense to go through the effort of painting if it's going to look terrible when it's freshly painted.
Well, we'll come back to the inside of that house here in just a little bit, but for the rest of this segment, I want to step outside and ask you a few questions about doing a painting job on the exterior of your home. First thing that comes to mind, siding. Is it advisable to paint over the siding on your home? What are some complications you might run into there?
Are we talking vinyl, aluminum?
Vinyl siding.
Vinyl siding, you see, I never understood why people would want to paint vinyl siding because it's zero maintenance as it is right now. Now, if you just want to change the color, you have to get a specific type of paint that's formulated to adhere to vinyl siding. So you just can't put any paint on it. But yeah, again, with the proper prep, any surface can be painted. You just have to know what product to use.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point about the type of paint you're going to get to actually paint over the siding. What are some other things to think about that are different about choosing an exterior paint as opposed to an interior paint?
Well, with exteriors, depending on the age of the house, there are certain paints you would want to use that have certain additives in them, like linseed oil, number one, that retards the drying process and allows the paint to penetrate into the wood. Some of the new super paints that they sell, they dry so quickly, they shrink when they dry, and they actually end up pulling the paint that you're painting over off the siding. And that creates a problem because now the paint's not attached to anything. It's dry, but it's just kind of floating there. Depending on the age of your house really kind of determines the paint you will use, whether you want a quick dry super paint or something that's a little more geared toward the older homes.
Yeah. And I know that as we talked about when you came in, you're working on an exterior painting job right now, and there's a lot of different application methods that are available, whether you're spraying it on, brushing, rolling. What application method do you recommend for an exterior painting job? And does it vary from house to house?
Well, it does vary from house to house. The house I'm working on right now is 99% brick, and there's some wood trim and soffits and garage doors and dormers. That's not really worth the effort of using a sprayer on. You want to apply all that by hand. I actually don't own a compressor. I don't spray anything. I think I've sprayed 2 jobs in the 15 years I've been in Indy. I do everything by hand. I'm old school. I just feel you get a better finish and a better true coat, and you're actually looking at every square inch of the job that you're doing as opposed to standing back with a sprayer and just kind of covering it in mass.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, I wanted to ask about weather considerations because, we've had rain recently, but even today the sun's shining. But you mentioned how it might be a little bit too wet to do an outdoor job. What should you consider? Is there a certain time? Do you need to let things dry for a certain amount of time before you start an exterior paint job?
Yeah, my rule of thumb is I wait at least 2 days after it's rained before I'll start painting an exterior again, especially if it's a lot of wood siding, because there's a lot of places for water to get up underneath and hide. And 2 days gives everything a chance to dry out. You'll have adhesion problems down the road if you don't wait for things to dry out properly.
Yeah, it's good to give it that 48 hours of wait time to make sure that the paint is going to apply correctly. We're going to take another break in the action here, but when we come back, we're going to look at what's trending in the paint world, and we'll also take your listener questions and get you some answers from Greg. It's not a pigment of your imagination. You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List.
Do you love a good bargain? Angie'sList.com showcases popular deals from highly rated local companies so you can save time and money on the home and health services you need most. Remodeling your kitchen? Painting your house? Cleaning your carpet? We've got a deal for that. Angie's List members even have access to exclusive discounts, up to 80%. Don't waste another day or another dollar. Start shopping now at angieslist.com.